knew that a dimly lit atmosphere and a shoddy pool room would declare an emergence of a different taste in entertainment during the 1960s, gradually phasing out of those lighthearted musicals into hardened realism. The Hustler tackles the kryptonite of an average individual.
Tartar sauce.
And it's not SpongeBob. It's a more nefarious thing that goes undetected by its host, but when discovered, no one wishes to identify with. Its darker themes, paired with a rich dialogue, details a cautionary tale of one of the biggest pitfalls humanity is plagued with: the problem of pride. But first, let's define pride. There are two types of pride: the good kind and the not so good kind. Healthy pride is defined as a feeling that you respect yourself and deserve to be respected by other people. Unhealthy pride is arrogant, haughty, or overbearing behavior, demeanor, or treatment of others, as exhibiting an inordinately high opinion of oneself. With biblical roots in Christianity and coined as one of the 7 deadly sins in the Catholic sect, an account of the characteristics of pride begins with a fallen angel named Lucifer. In Isaiah 14, verse 13, it says, "You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly, on the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High." Lucifer attempts to overthrow his creator because of his conceived supremacy over all others, presenting an inflated importance of oneself. He wishes to be glorious apart from the one who formed him. Similarly to Lucifer, our anti-hero,
Eddie Felton,
is infected with this feeling. Paul Newman portrays Felton as a blue-eyed con man full of ego, motivated by self-preservation and lacking in good nature. Yet, he was extremely talented at playing pool. He and his business partner, Charlie Burns, would travel through pool halls as Felton pretends to be a drunken amateur in a match against Burns. Byron McCormick's rendition of Charlie is presented as a father-like figure that managed and, in a way, shielded him from advances. But at the cost of Eddie's avarice, he's evidently chased away. Many patrons fall for it, and Eddie would show his hand as he wins a game. Very skilled, his faults are manifested in his weak character. The Hustler images the internal war our main character faces as he struggles with ego, which was directly opposed to the man he idealized. And you may ask, who was this ideal man? Well, let's see. Eddie had a dream. He fantasized in securing $10,000 after playing a high-stakes match against a legendary pool player named Minnesota Fats, and he vocalizes this many times.
I dreamed about this game, fat man. I dreamed about this game every night on the road. 5 ball. No, this is my table, man. I own it.
And eventually, he finds himself face to face with this. Let it be known that there is nothing wrong with healthy belief in oneself, but that isn't what Eddie displayed. It was arrogance. Tauntingly, Eddie says to Fats,
I'm the best you ever seen, Fats. I'm the best there is. Even if you beat me, I'm still the best.
What do we as the audience know about Minnesota Fats? Propped up as the one to spur Felton's growth, Fats is played by Jackie Gleason with controlled chaos. His love for the game and his moral code made him much more successful than any other player. Calculated, a man of a few words, and one who executes wisdom in his occupation of playing games, are traits observed about Fats, whereas Fast Eddie is hasty in both his playing and in his decisions. Obviously the antithesis to Eddie, Fats is used as a foil character to exacerbate his haughtiness. With a long match that leads into another day, Eddie is tired and partially drunk. Yet he had mastered the reputable man. His belief in himself is backed with talent, and he achieves even more money than he intended. He's the greatest player, isn't he? His dream of besting Fats is complete, and the story ends. Oddly enough, it doesn't, and his story continues. He keeps playing. ignoring Charlie, who encourages him to call it quits. He expresses his reasoning for continuing.
You can't see it, can you, Charlie? I mean, you've never been able to see it. I came after him, and I'm gonna get him. I'm going with him all the way. The pool game is not over until Minnesota Fats says it's over. Is it over, Fats?
Never mind the fact that the desired goal had been met during their match. Eddie needed respect. He needed Minnesota Fats, the legendary pool player, to affirm him as the greatest pool player around. But there's one thing that Eddie failed to see. Greatness is less of an outward characteristic and more of an inward piece of work. The weakest men neglect more important matters that truly make a person great. Matters of true character like integrity, honesty, and humility. Similarly, Jesus' words to the Pharisees are reminiscent of Eddie's pursuit. Then the Lord said, "Now you Pharisees clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside you are full of greed and wickedness." Luke 11, verse 39. Exalted by his talent, he searches for outward praise and neglects the mastery of those inward behaviors. We recognize Eddie's disposition as mere pride, because even after winning, he remains unsatisfied. A quote by C.S. Lewis perfectly describes the nature of pride. He details that pride gets no pleasure out of having something, only out of having more of it than the next man. It is the comparison that makes you proud, the pleasure of being above the rest. Once the element of competition is gone, pride is gone. Until this affirmation is given, Fats is viewed by Eddie as the sole obstruction toward his personal growth and fulfillment. He believes that to be considered great, he must be the best, more so than anybody else, at the only thing that he succeeds in. Ignoring the cracks in his character, he fails to understand why he can never beat this mammoth of a man.
Stay with this kid. He's a loser.
Is Bert Gordon's prophecy about Eddie. Gordon, portrayed by George Scott, is a successful grifter that manages players, and as the manager of Minnesota Fats, he had been the one to fund the money for the match between him and Eddie. Gordon's synopsis of Eddie as a born loser was an interesting sentiment to be belied upon an otherworldly pool player. Yet Gordon understood something about Felsen that took him such a tenuous time to see, and Bert was kind of right. Eddie loses, not because he couldn't beat Fats, but because of his poor character. Being great is far greater than talent, which is why Bert says,
I don't think there's a pool player alive shoots better pool than I saw you shoot the other night at Ames. You got talent.
We got talent. So what beat me?
Character.
not only is Felsen a loser in his occupation, but also in his relationships. After his loss, his identity was challenged. Far from the great man he idealizes, he finds himself packing up and leaving Charlie. With little resources left to him besides some cash, he finds himself latching onto Sarah Packard, who is brought to life by Piper Laurie. Acting as the love interest, she provides a murky mirror for his brokenness. Hesitant acquaintance befalls them, and they meet again, forming a destructive alliance. Sarah tends to Eddie, and he just takes. He swindles her in every way, whether it be financially, mentally, bodily, and yet she still remains. Sarah, who struggles with a drinking problem, is in a personal hell with Eddie as he provides nothing of need for her within the realm of security. She seeks out love, but receives the opposite of that, which provides a chaotic environment for a character that already experiences internal disorder. A prideful man struggles to express true love because of its competitive nature. Was he in competition with Sarah? By no means. However, he saw himself as more complete than she was, and any crack in his inflated sense of self proved to be an attack. We see this when he harshly reacts to a story she wrote about them. He inquires,
What's this supposed to mean? We have a contract of depravity. All we have to do is pull the blinds down.
As Lewis asserts, pride always means enmity. It is enmity. And not only enmity between man and man, but enmity to God. Even when Burns reunites with Felsen after his hasty departure, he inquires,
You care about me, Eddie? We're together a long time, night and day. So how do you say goodbye? You give me the car and $100. You think I care about the dough of the car? I care about you.
His behavior toward Charlie is dismissive, as his desires trump all other wills. Sarah's request for love from him and Charlie's plea for care are merely hindrances to him in achieving his goal. He craves to be independent of everything that he thinks holds him back. If Eddie already has otherworldly talent, as seen when he met his goal, what does he need to prove? What drives this behavior he displays? An old friend from psychology could help us with that. Abraham Maslow formulated a theory, and this theory classifies motivation based upon a hierarchy of needs. It begins with a focus on physiological necessities, such as food, water, and sleep. Safety is the second priority, and then the development of belonging to either a family or community. Continuing the list, those higher intangible needs like respect or self-esteem are expected as the fourth priority, leading ultimately to self-actualization. After those basic needs for existence are met, he believes that we often find ourselves striving to achieve something beyond the physical. A transcendentalist outlook develops, as an individual pursues more meaningful rewards that satisfy the metaphysical being, which is the soul. But apart from all of that, I want to highlight the term self-actualization. Self-actualization represents one's realization of their innate potential and involves a deep sense of personal growth and purpose. In Maslow's view, this theory provides insight on the impetus of creativity, purpose, and authenticity. Therefore, it can be deduced that underneath his desire to win, Eddie's drive is the pursuit of purpose and self-respect. So basically, a healthy form of pride. So, Eddie persists. Regardless of his failed relationships, he finds himself isolated and in poor shape mentally, creating the perfect environment for the metaphorical devil to swoop in. The third fall of mankind is not depicted in an ideal garden, but in a dimly lit bar room. With Eddie's cognitive abilities impaired by alcohol, Bert Gordon returns and offers him an opportunity to redeem himself by becoming his manager at a 75% stake. He can salvage his bruised ego, but he never fully considers the cost. Offering him everything for nothing but his soul, Eddie accepts. Unable to see through Gordon's offer, Sarah, who joins Eddie on this journey, can clearly see the duplicity of this deal. Interestingly enough, the one who suffers greatly from this deal is not really Eddie, but it's Sarah. She never really receives the love she desires, only pain, though Eddie does have his fair share of pain as he compromises his integrity and is stripped of his dignity during a game. He never needed to lose his dignity to win, but somehow Gordon had relegated him to such. He wins, but he experiences potent anger as a result, which is a very odd emotion for one to express after a win. To add insult to injury, Eddie discovers damning news about Sarah, and he deeply grieves at this loss of love. Eddie's pursuit of what he thought would complete him turned out to be a farce. Then, after the pursuit, he is left with emptiness, a hollowness within his soul after receiving the spoils of war. He won, but at what cost? Followed his greed and chased away the only semblance of love and community he had. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Mark 8, verse 36. Eddie returns for his rematch with Fats, but it's different this time. He brandishes a new outlook on life. There's a variation in his countenance, a silent resolution that he feels. Still sure of his ability to win, he is changed by what he experienced. Once again, he succeeds, but there's a difference in the way that he handles this victory. Feeling a sense of relief at this win, a semblance of sorrow also fills him, because this success felt a little hollower than he remembered. With the loss of love, there's only him in the hall to celebrate. There's no Charlie or Sarah, just him. His acting manager is present even after the mess with Sarah and demands payment from Eddie, or the threat of receiving serious injury. Eddie, still sore from the memory of Sarah and uncaring of what may happen to him, he tells Bert,
I loved her, Bert. I traded her in on a pool game. But that wouldn't mean anything to you. Because who did you ever care about? Just win. Win, you said. Win. That's the important thing. If you don't know what winning is, Bert, you're a loser. Because you're dead inside. And you can't live unless you make everything else dead around you.
Gordon resigns, but pushes Eddie to either remain indebted to him or he walks away from ever playing pool again. A tough decision, no doubt, but now that Eddie's changed, he considers these options carefully, and he decides that though it may trample on one of his greatest desires, he tells Bert no, and he walks away. The act of walking away from his dream could only be the development of an individual that had a newfound sense of self-worth. He was no longer pursuing a feeling of greatness. He understood that Minnesota Fats was never his opponent. He had to master himself. In the end, he understood the harmfulness of this pursuit and how the world takes advantage of the weak and the vulnerable, and it spits them out. One may consider this film as merely a drama about a simple sport, but it's a bit deeper than that. The Hustler has left its mark, not just on cinema, but on its viewers. Aside from its great direction, or dialogue, or actors, the film has managed to produce a completely humanistic think piece. It invites the audience to journey with our anti-hero. He becomes the personification of pride. It's those little things that you least expect. It's the sting of resentment when someone doesn't acknowledge you, or even immediate defense at the first sign of criticism. Notice how Eddie consistently won his matches. He was truly one of the greatest players, but his hubris cost him much more losses. These tiny bits of prideful behaviors will ultimately result in an arrogant disposition. So let's learn from Eddie. He garners humility and he faces a rebirth. Baptized in the waters of integrity, he determines that his worth is not predicated on external affirmation, but it comes from an assuredness within. Now redeemed, Eddie can humbly declare,
Fat man, you shoot a great game of pool.
and in recognition of his growth, Fats affirms,
So do you, Fast Eddie.